Call 800-709-4667 right now to see what your claim could be worth when handled by a skilled attorney. With a lawyer fighting and speaking up for you, you could be entitled to a big cash award. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Now it's fast and easy to connect with the legal help you need after your car accident. Call 800-709-4667. The call is free, but you need to act now before time runs out on your claim. You need a lawyer to fight for you, protect you, and get you the compensation you need and deserve. Time's wasting. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Call now.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please call or go online right now.
You shouldn't have to pay to talk to the people closest to you, or the people who used to be. That's why Umbrella Wireless is proud to announce the new Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan. Now you'll get unlimited calls to your best buddy, your mom, or Cindy, once she realizes that you're seriously meant for each other and should stop screening your calls. Now the 30 minutes of agonizing silence where you're both afraid to hang up may drain your battery, but it won't drain your wallet. And you'll get unlimited calls just to check if she still cares enough to pick up, with no extra charges. With a Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan, your phone will automatically answer calls from your ex, because maybe she finally realizes that you're the only one for her and wants to get coffee sometime. Now, after lonely nights of looking at pictures of the road trip you took together when everything was great, your misspelled texts are absolutely free. The only thing you have to pay for is the booze. The Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan, because she wants you back. She just doesn't know it yet.
Welcome back, folks. Here we are. Here I am sitting in this wonderful chair that I call the Freedom Throne chair here in the bunkerized home studio. And I'm just espousing my wisdom that I have learned over the years from being on this planet and living in this country, and my various experiences. That's all I'm sharing with you, as well as the logic that I have. And it's not something that a lot of people get naturally. It is not even me. I developed my logic over time, as I watched and learned. Logic is something that you learn. I learned a lot about it, and I started to really think about it, and that logic button in my brain was turned on. And as the years go on, I realized that, every year that I live, I realized the previous year, I really didn't know anything. So this time next year, I will look back at this time and say I didn't know anything. That's because I'm constantly learning and improving. And that's the freedom that we have in this country, is that you can actually do that. And that's a good thing. So you definitely want to constantly be learning. You want to learn new stuff, because you learn something new every day. At least that should be your goal. And I do learn something new every day. There's something I learned that I did not know before, and that's always a good thing. Continuous learn. Actually, that with that, people that continually learn new stuff, not only do they live longer, but they keep their brain active much longer. In other words, they ward off those brain diseases where people who stop learning new stuff, they get things like dementia and Alzheimer's a lot sooner than people who continually learn and use their brain. In one of those big, you remember was it Sudoku? I was actually starting to get pretty good at doing that, and I stopped playing them because they started to really frustrate the hell out of me. And it is a frustrating game, but it forces you to think. And they actually, a few years ago, I remember them doing a study on people who did games like crossword puzzles, and I'm terrible at crossword puzzles, by the way. But the people that did mental games like crossword puzzles and Sudoku, and they kept doing them as they got older, their brains, physically speaking, were younger than people their exact same age who did not do those types of things. So always keep your brain active. That's my little health hint for you today. Keep your brain active by learning new things and challenging yourself mentally every day. It's the same with the body. The brain is the same as the body. You got to challenge your body on a daily basis, because if you don't, unless you end up with a sudden medical condition that stops you from doing that sort of thing, you really need to challenge your body on a daily basis, even if it's just as little bit as just walking around. Now, trust me, I fully understand that there are people that cannot do that, and that's unfortunate. But for those of you that can, it's use it or lose it. And it's a sad fact when I see older people walking around and they can't. And it's simply because they didn't challenge their bodies on a daily basis as when they were younger, as they were getting older. You got to do. There is nothing out there. The Bible doesn't say that, just because you turn 60 or 70 or 80, you now have to be an old cripple. It doesn't. As long as you're in good health, you should be able to, there are a growing number of people out there who people say they die suddenly, without warning. And that's simply because that's really how you were designed. You were not designed to linger on with medication after medication after medication for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I look at some people, you go to the retirement homes and you see some people that just seem to be lingering on, and they're on all kinds of meds. That's not how you were meant to be, to live your golden years. Your body's still able to be rather young. If you don't believe, YouTube, if you don't believe me, YouTube, you see some of these old people, the 80s and 90-year-olds running marathons, and so there is a picture of a 90-year-old guy, not a picture, but a YouTube video, but I don't even remember what it is, but just look it up. 90-year-old man who could bench press more than I can, and I'm nowhere near 90. And everybody looks at him with amazement. And the fact is that should be more the norm, not the exception. That's what the body's designed to do. Science tells us that the biological framework of the body can actually sustain healthy life for anywhere from 130 to 150 years. There are some people out there without intervening medical science that say that the human body could actually survive and live healthfully for 175 to 200 years. Can you imagine that, living to be 200 years? It's almost like being an elf, in some of the movies. That extended, that's unfathomable. We look at people that reach the average age of 75-ish in the United States and think that, that's wonderful. And then we look at people that get to be 85 or 90, and we're amazed. And then if they get to be a centenarian, 100 years old, we're like, whoa! When the reality is We're selling ourselves short by about 50 years. What can you do with another 50 years of life? How much could your family benefit if you were around another 50 healthy years? Think about that. I'm surprised that the government doesn't want you to be, well, Michelle wants you to be healthy, so she says. Maybe she sees the same stuff in research that I see and figures that if you're around for another 50 years, how much more taxes that you'll be able to pay. I know that's enough for some people to say, no, I'm going early, man. I ain't paying any more in taxes. I'm done. 75, I'm done. They're not getting any more out of me. Just saying, folks. And look, and I understand that there are debilitating things that happen to people that they really cannot control, no matter what. I mean, look, we see what was this? I can't remember his name. It was a really strange name. It had to do with running. But he died of a heart attack pretty early on. I mean, there are just certain things, obviously, certain defects that come to light that you're just not in the body, that no matter what you do, you know, how healthy you are, you're most likely not going to be able to avoid those types of debilitating things or things that might even kill you. But for the vast majority of us, it's just the opposite. We kill ourselves. It isn't disease. It isn't old age. It's us. Plain and simple. And we allow that to happen, by the way. We don't, it's not as if we don't have a choice. And I know there are people out there saying, well, I'd rather do this. And I hear Rush talk about this too. Sometimes that there's not really much you can do. Well, that's bogus. We know medically and scientifically speaking, that's bogus. There's a lot we can do. Now, there are certain things that hit us that we have no control over, even if we live the most healthiest of lifestyles, had the most optimal of health. There are just things that can happen that we have no control over. That's out of our hands. It's out of our control. That's all up to God. I know some people don't like to hear that. Even when they do hear it, they can appreciate what I'm saying, but doesn't mean that they like it. And that's true. I, for one, am lucky enough to still have my health. Now, not that I have not taken care of myself, because I have, but I'm lucky enough to not be debilitated by something I had no control over. And I really fully appreciate that every single day, especially as I get older. Because every once in a while, in the mornings especially, that people get older, they feel these little aches and pains, and they want, oh goodness, what's going wrong? And yeah, we're all going to have, sometimes I felt like that at the age of 20. Just what you do on a daily basis can take a toll on the body. And it takes a little bit of time for it to heal, but it can heal itself if you do the right things. Not all the time. There are certain things that whatever you do, your body's just not going to heal itself. And it's just what disease is, unfortunately. But enough of that. Net neutrality and Netflix help squash the Comcast merger with Time Warner. It appears that this merger is dead. Now, for the most part, I do not have mixed feelings with it, and let me tell you why. It is, look, these are two private companies. Well, they're on the stock market, they're public, but basically they're not government entities. They're private, in the private sector, private companies. I don't believe the government has any business telling them what to do. Up to a certain point, because what they've done is just made cable more expensive in the first place. And they talk about, well, is there going to be enough? This whole competition thing with Comcast and Time Warner, as far as the cable and internet phone service is concerned, and internet service is concerned, ISP, is a bogus, is a red herring, because they don't compete with each other, because they can't. This is not something that you hear a lot. They can't compete with each other. Because if you go into most neighborhoods or most communities across this country, and they give out what they call a franchise contract, which is an exclusive to a particular cable company.